fur's coming out because she keeps on chewing on herself. My mom puts all kinds of stuff on her for fleas, but that's gonna work. Oh, Soup. That's what Zach named him.
So tell me about Zach. Was he a good brother?
Yeah. He let me stay up all night with him. One time he said that his stomach hurt real bad, and it ended up that his stomach was bleeding. I can't remember hardly anything else other than that.
I went back to my hometown in southeastern Ohio after my friend Zach died. I wanted to document his life and try to understand his death. He made a deep impact on his friends when he was alive, and for many of us, he was the first close friend who'd died. It was comforting to be in the familiarity of southeastern Ohio, safely tucked into the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. I'd met Zach's family before, but I'd never really talked to them. Zach's mom Ellen was someone who I'd wanted to talk to, but she was always kind of on the periphery when Zach was alive. I felt that now, she was the key person to talk to in order to understand Zach's life and death. It was startling to see Soup, Zach's dog, when I pulled up to the house. I almost expected to see Zach walking up behind her. I brought some pictures they hadn't seen, and I went to visit Zach's family on Thanksgiving morning.
Well, my turkey is like leaking all over the place, so it smells like it's burning. So on Thanksgiving Day, what do we say? Are we supposed to be thankful for the time that we had with him? Something's better than nothing. Better to have loved and lost, you know. Remember the good times, but it just makes me angry and bitter.
He always made friends easy. He was always liked to talk. That unconditional love, that's one of the things that it's not out there everywhere, but he had it. I figured Zachy'd be the one that'd take care of me when I was old and feeble and nobody else wanted me. Keep me looking nice. He used to always love to brush my hair, didn't he? Even when he was half grown, he'd brush my hair for me and braid it and stuff. When we was losing him, you know, you come to the point where you had to accept it. Try to accept it, you have to realize that he had to go on and do something else. So, be thankful that he's helping somebody else. You know, because I think he's still present, you know.
Well, in the beginning, Zach was born April 17, 1977. I was 17 years old, and I knew Zach's dad a little bit, but he wasn't around. So me and my mother and my sister all lived together. So Zach grew up with three mothers, basically. So he was the center of attention, he was the apple of everybody's eye, and he was totally cute, totally loved, totally intelligent. He was born with such insight, and he communicated so well that I never felt that communication gap or that, why are you scrolling? I don't know what you want. It was just never like that. That frustration was never there with him. Started drawing from the time he was 3 years old. He always had an eye for color, always had an eye for detail. And he always loved girls. That's another very basic fact about Zach. When he was older and going to school, and he had his little birthday parties at home that were only girls he would invite, only the girls. Probably from the time he was 5 or 6, he never really was without a girlfriend. When Eric was born, he just loved Eric and just thought, wow, this is so neat, I have a baby now. He loved babies, he always loved babies. He did, he just loved them. And that's when we went to Jackson. And Jackson's a nice community, but there's a lot of, I feel like, hidden dangers there, not from the people that live there, but from the environment itself. The water was so bad there that it came out of the faucet black. After being gone from here through those formative years of his life, he thought it was a pretty boring place and everything, but he found his niche, and people waited for Zach to get there. I think he felt real purpose with it. I think that it wasn't just entertainment for him. I think that he felt He had a little following, and he did influence people. I think that was his goal. He wanted people to say it's okay to be different, and I think that meant a lot to Zach. He had a group of friends that liked that had those same kind of ideas. I guess that's what really made him special.
This bar is the Union. It was the center of the scene in my hometown. Everybody sort of gravitated there. I remember he was new in town, so I got to take him there for the first time. He, in turn, made an impact on the scene, and in a way, he's still present there. I wanted to talk to our friends about how Zach affected their lives, and what they remember about him.
He was a big influence. I don't know if he meant to. It seems like sometimes that he didn't mean to. Just the way he acted, the way he held himself, the way he was always talking and always had ideas.
He was the king of like just being able to go up to girls and be like, hey, you want to make out? And girls being like, okay. I don't know how he did it, but he did.
Superheroes and role-playing games.
Yeah.
He'd draw his friends and turn them into superheroes. He'd create superheroes. He'd draw superhero pictures of his role-playing game characters.
A lot of his characters were these really underdog characters. He's like incredibly tortured, incredibly like deformed character, but has like this kind of heart of gold behind it. So I don't know if he saw something in himself in a lot of the characters that he drew, or what.
I remember once he told me that I draw pretty people and he draws ugly people. He was pretty good at drawing mutant-like stuff. You'd still like see human characteristics in it, but would have a lot of mutations going on.
Like, he had some really good drawings, and I was like, hey, do you like mine? And they're like stick figures compared to his. But he liked me and took me in as his pupil or something, his child.
He did that to lots of like younger kids. Like, they're a little bit younger than him. He'd be like, come with me, I'll show you the ropes. You know, like, I don't know. He was like my personal hairdresser. He always cut my hair, and he'd usually have the idea for it. He kind of created me in a way, I guess.
He just walked up and was like, hey, what are you doing today? Nothing? Okay, you're going to play bass in my band. I'm like, okay, I'm going to play bass in your band.
He was very protective of the scene, brought people into it to make sure that it would still survive, sort of like trying to help mold the scene in his own image.
All of his favorite things have this great power, and I think he liked that, the idea of having power, like a superhero.
You create what you need, I guess. Maybe Zach just needed superheroes.
Well, a vice principal, let's say, at the high school would verbally abuse Zach at every opportunity by calling him a queer, asking him why he was the way he was, and tried to treat him like, you know, maybe you're retarded, maybe you should be in special ed classes. When Zach did get in trouble, it was because his answers to him is, I don't care what you think. And they didn't like that because Zach wasn't going to change for them. I think he thought the world he created was better than the one he lived in. I think he definitely thought that. The world that he created or could create would be better.
The history of southeastern Ohio and the history of Appalachia is the story of independent thinkers. People who struck out on their own and forged a new life. An independent life that was self-sustaining. Although there has been an extraordinary amount of poverty, struggle, and hunger here, there's always been a spirit of rugged independence. I've learned to be proud of that independent spirit, which is strengthened by the essential link between people and nature.
Oh, the lay of this land, if I could roll it in my hands, reshape every part of it I see.
I think it was winter. I asked him if he wanted to go get a cup of coffee or something. He's like, well, I went to the doctor and found out that I have this ulcer in my stomach that's probably not going to go away, so I can't drink anything that'll upset it.
He'd always be going to the hospital all the time, and they kept telling him, you have an ulcer, go take some Tagamet.
And Zach was really poor. Like, he never really had anything.
He wasn't getting a lot of medicine that he needed a lot of the times.
It got to the point where he had to leave constantly to go to the bathroom just to throw up because he couldn't hold anything down.
I mean, he needed those pills so much. I remember him borrowing money sometimes and stuff like that.
He just kept getting skinnier and skinnier and more sick, and they kept telling him he had an ulcer, so he didn't worry about it too much.
I remember going with him on several occasions where we'd go, he's like, I don't have any medicine, let's go to Kroger's. And we'd go to Kroger's and he would, walk down the aisle and grab a box and stick it in his pocket and we'd leave, because that's how he got his medicine. He couldn't afford it, so he'd have to get it some ways. And that was the only way that he could get it.
He found ways, I guess. And when he didn't, he'd just be hurting.
Kind of surprised that nobody really ever, knew what was going on. We just like, well, he has an ulcer, he's sick. And that's all that we knew. None of us ever really knew better.
And Kevin's a lot different than Zach ever was. And Eric is different yet. Somehow it all comes together and you have this certain kind of cohesion that makes you a family. It all kind of fits together like a puzzle, because all the different moods and personalities, they all just kind of fit together. That makes up the montage of your family life and your everyday mundane life that so many people take for granted, that I just don't take for granted anymore. I don't take for granted that my children are always going to be there. I believe we have a turkey. It's turkey, but you're going to have to peel the potatoes. That's good. Wash your hands. Good boy, Kevin. Kevin's totally different from Zach, but he looks a lot like Zach. This is the only knife I have. The paring knives apparently have been carried out to the yard. No, use the one you had first. But now, if you cut towards you, Kev, where's that knife going to go if it slips? No, you're still doing it. There you go. Away from you. That's right. You got it. Kevin finds pictures of Zach when he was little, and he'll say, when did you take this picture of me, Mom? And I'm like, that's not you, that's Zach. Yes, Zach never knew his dad, and he had an opportunity to meet his dad after years. He wasn't interested in it, because if you meet some crud that your dad never wanted nothing to do with you, what does that mean? What you make of it in your mind is a lot better. He would rather think that he was from a space alien. There were changes, the subtle changes of just illness. They told him once, he had mono and strep, and it just seemed like every time he would get sick, he never was quite as healthy as he was before. It was a gradual thing, and I think that made it more insidious. You just got used to him being that way. Because whatever bad situation he was in, he had such a mind, he'd reason it out until it was gone. So there was no really thing that he couldn't overcome, except of course the cancer.
Just who I am.
We lost a friend, but Kevin and Eric lost a brother. Eric was the person who was the most resistant to talking about Zach. It was obvious that he had been deeply affected by his older brother's death. Eric's resistance made me wonder if I was doing the right thing by documenting Zach's life and opening up wounds that were beginning to heal.
You're beside me now, everything's alright. And I like to close my eyes. I'm gonna stand with you.
When he was got breaks from the hospital, I remember Mary Beth had to give him shots.
Nobody took care of him more than she did in the hospital. She was always there. She was constantly by his side, which I'd always admired her for that, just being by him.
Yeah, they got engaged and stuff before, when he, there was still a possibility he might get better. And she has the ring. They both got matching rings.
Towards the very end, he did tell Mary Beth he didn't think he was going to make it. Mary Beth, just said, oh, don't talk like that, and I think that he was really trying to tell her goodbye. She may have dealt with it a little better if she would have listened to him, because it was really, really hard on her. She was 19 years old. She stayed by his side for the most part every minute. And it would have been a lot easier for her to turn and run. I don't think she ever really admitted to herself how really sick he was, though. I think she thought that he was going to recover and that everything was going to be all right, and then they would get married and everything would be fine.
Zach's resilience showed while he was sick. He even had the energy to take care of a mangy dog, and he named her Soup.
Him and Mary Beth were going somewhere, and there was just this sickly, skinny dog on the road, and he kind of found it and adopted it and took care of it and got it shots.
He found her in a ditch, and she was like starving and all sickly, and he took her home and made her better. She was always around him after that.
Him and that dog were pretty inseparable.
I guess when you're dying and you know it, you don't have any other choice but to accept it. I mean, he wasn't angry. I was angry. Confused. Because I, didn't instill that Christian belief in him that you're going to go to heaven when you die, so it's okay. Mary Beth prayed for him. My brother prayed for him. I just couldn't do it. I just didn't think. All the things that Zach disliked was a hypocrite. And I asked Zach, do you want the preacher? No, he didn't want the preacher. He told me he made his peace with God, and that he knew there was still Jesus, and that he was going to be all right, and that if they were up there, or if they were out there, he was going to find them. So I guess I have to trust him in that. And none of us are going to know until we get there. I had told whoever was there, his friends would come out to the hospital all the time. And if anybody wants to see him, they should come today. Some of them sat beside him and held his hand and prayed. And some of them just talked to him out loud. And there were so many of his friends that were out in the hallway. And my brother Dan said, if anybody wants to pray, I'd like to say a prayer before I leave. All of those kids came in that room. We were standing shoulder to shoulder. And my brother said his prayer, and everybody kind of filed out, and some of them were still milling around. And I took Zach's hand, and it was cold. He took his last breath.
Oh, the lay of this land, if I could roll it in my hands, reshape every part of it I see, I would roll it just the same, not call it by its own name, happy that it all came back to me. But as the trees go flying by, and the smoke blooms in the sky, and the billboards try to show
I don't think that it's my fault that Zach died, but you can't help but think, what if I would have done something different? And he was sick for so long. And because he was 20 years old, and because he had no insurance, he worked a part-time minimum wage job, the doctor took one look at him and said, well, you have an ulcer, and gave him some Zantac. That was the extent of his medical treatment. It's not uncommon for people Zach's age to die of cancer. So yes, they should have looked further into it. But there was no reason for them to assume that he had cancer. And they told him, yeah, they could do more tests if he had the money to pay for them, which he didn't. It's not rare around here. It's not. Because I can think of 5 people, not that I knew personally, but that I've heard of, and in Zach's same age group that have died of it. Mm-hmm. And it all pretty much happens the same way because they go undiagnosed for so long.
This was something that really stuck with me. Had we become immune to Zach's illness? Did we see illness every day and get used to it? Numbed? Things get worse and we don't notice. Just business as usual? Now that I think about it, Zach's illness did become part of his personality. He was the sick guy who always needed his pills. His illness just became part of the landscape. And driving through the area where I grew up, I thought of the things I just got used to. The nature that surrounded us, and the people that populated the area, and the factories dotted along the Ohio River, where so many people worked.
Anybody wants a glass? I got glasses. Pink and white. We recommend the pink, but after we drink all the pink, the white will taste better. It pisses me off that our children, everybody's children, grows up in a poisoned world. And we have no control over it. We have no control over it. There's no way around it. There's no way out of here. They allow the people to pollute the world because the people are us. We have to work. We need jobs. That's the bottom line, and it costs you your life. It costs you your family.
What does the future hold for us, the youth of southeastern Ohio, and the youth of America? What about Zach's brothers? Where are they growing up? I see the place where I grew up with new eyes. Is this the place I grew up? Is this the independent, spirited area I was so proud of? Or is it just an area full of people who have given up, gotten used to the way things are and resigned to living with it? I think about one of Zach's drawings that sticks in my mind when I'm feeling overwhelmed. The drawing looks like one of his superhero self-portraits, a sickly-looking person with arms and legs flailing in the middle of a void. And it says, "Falling is just the first part of diving. Falling is just the first part of diving. Falling is just the first part of diving. Falling is just the first part of diving."
Oh, the lay of this land, if I could roll it in my hands, reshape every part of it I see, I would roll it just the same, not colored by its own name, happy that it all came back to me. But as the trees go flying by, and the smoke booms in the sky, and the billboards try to show us where we're going, golden arches flowing still, under the white cross on the hill, and the fog lifts through the trees across the morning. Oh, the lay of this land, if I could roll it in my hands, change every part of it I see, I would roll it just the same, and I would color it by its old name, happy that it all came back to me. But as the trees go flying by, and the birds hover in the sky, and they catch our